The UN Peacebuilding Commission is an intergovernmental advisory body to support peace efforts. An Agenda for Peace is the first United Nations document that defines the concept of peace building. Liberia was the first peacebuilding support office established. Political reconstruction includes efforts to build a legitimate and capable state. Concerned neighbors engage in peace operations in order to prevent spillover effects of the conflict to the home country. Corruption is one of the factors that undermines sustainable peace and development in Sierra Leone. The concept of post-conflict peacebuilding and reconstruction. Peacebuilding is an evolving, multidimensional, and elastic concept and practice that encompasses multiple perspectives and goals. First, Johan Galtung introduced the term peacebuilding in 1976. The concept has gained prominence in the transforming security landscape of the post-Cold War era. Former UN Secretaries General Boutros Ghali and Kofi Annan greatly contributed to the development of the concept of peacebuilding. The first UN post-conflict peacebuilding support office was established in Liberia. Post-conflict reconstruction became one of the central elements of post-conflict peacebuilding. The World Bank's publication and its launch of the Post-Conflict Fund, 1997, represented prominent actions in suggesting the practical steps of the post-conflict reconstruction. The Peacebuilding Commission was also established by the UN General Assembly and the UN Security Council in 2005. The main components of post-conflict peacebuilding. Peacebuilding uses a wide range of policy instruments to foster the capacity to resolve structural contradictions. The post-conflict peacebuilding measures are categorized into three main areas: security, governance, and social and economic development. In the post-conflict period, comprehensive efforts to help restore a secure environment and security system constitute primary ingredients of the peacebuilding process. Under the framework of the security pillar, post-conflict peacebuilding efforts are devised to cope with diverse tasks such as disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration (DDR) of ex-combatants, security sector reform (SSR), and mine action. Societies emerging from conflicts often experience weak government institutions, a widespread sense of injustice, violations of human rights, and a lack of professional capacity for good governance. Post-conflict peacebuilding efforts mainly focus on the issues of electoral assistance, the reform of public administration and civic participation to overcome complex problems of stable governance. Sustainable economic and social conditions are vital for eliminating the root causes of conflicts and building functioning governance structures. In this respect, some of the peacebuilding activities that contribute to economic and social development include reconstruction of physical infrastructure, poverty reduction and income security, voluntary repatriation, empowering local communities, and social cohesion. The main goals of post-conflict peacebuilding and reconstruction. The core objective of post-conflict peacebuilding and reconstruction is to assist war-torn countries not only to avoid a relapse into conflict but to establish the conditions for sustainable peace. The peacebuilding activities aim to provide security, to establish the political and socio-economic foundations of long-term peace, to generate reconciliation, and to promote justice and to heal the wounds of war. Post-conflict reconstruction is mainly composed of four phases that are emergency relief, rehabilitation, reform and modernization, and peace consolidation. The main themes that are emphasized under the phases of the post-conflict reconstruction are the provision of general security, economic reconstruction, social reconstruction, and political reconstruction. Post-conflict reconstruction programs, which are implemented in the short-term and mid-term periods, aim to promote stabilization and contribute to the foundations of sustainable peace. Conflict transformation, on the other hand, is a long-term goal aimed at changing people's attitudes and building the capacity of local institutions to manage resources for the benefit of all while minimizing those factors that lead to incompatibilities. There are 4 dimensions of conflict transformation: actor-related, relational, structural, and cultural transformation. The key actors in post-conflict peacebuilding. There are several actors involved in numerous peacebuilding activities in different geographies. They can be categorized under intergovernmental organizations, states, and civil society and the private sector. These actors play diverse roles in the stages of planning, funding, implementing, and monitoring peacebuilding activities. The UN stands as one of the most ambitious actors in the peacebuilding process, with its broadening repertoire of tools and partnerships with other organizations. Growing ambitions and advances by organizations such as NATO, the EU, and the OAS have resulted in enhanced cooperation with the UN. It is possible to see nation-states as the intervening powers. In this respect, the regional hegemons, former colonial powers and concerned neighbors are taking active roles in peace processes. While the involvement of civil society is crucial to understand the cultural context and structural dynamics of the conflicts, the private sector stands as a powerful and adaptable vehicle for generating opportunities in the reconstruction period. Recommendations by the Brahimi Report as one of the peace-building tools and strategies. The adoption of quick impact projects. The creation of a fund for disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration. Regularized funding for the Electoral Affairs Division. The adoption in complex peace operations. The main criticisms of the liberal peacebuilding approach. Western interventionism. The exclusion of local dynamics. The imposition of Western values. The phases of post-conflict reconstruction. Emergency relief. Rehabilitation. Reform and modernization. Peace consolidation. The indicators of the successful reintegration of demobilized soldiers. Active members of their communities. A member of society without special status. An ordinary member of society without special needs. The assistance to post-conflict elections by the international community. The provision of election observation. Support for civil society. Advice on electoral systems. Assistance for the functioning of electoral management bodies. The UN Peacebuilding Commission. The Peacebuilding Commission, PBC, is an intergovernmental advisory body that supports peace efforts in conflict-affected countries. It is a key addition to the capacity of the international community in the broad peace agenda. The PBC is composed by 31 member states, elected from the General Assembly, the Security Council, and the Economic and Social Council. The top financial contributing countries and the top troop contributing countries to the United Nations system are also members. The priorities of peace building. It is difficult to decide on the priorities for peace building activities when so much appears urgent and resources and capacity are limited. A key criterion is the effect of the activity. The top peace-building priorities are those that will enhance peace consolidation, or that will significantly reduce the risk of relapse into conflict and begin to resolve key causes of the conflict. Priority setting must reflect the unique conditions and needs of the country rather than be driven by what international actors can or want to supply. Creating a safe environment or helping returnees to resettle, for example, might be obvious early goals. But the ripeness of an action needs to be considered. An activity pursued too early after conflict can sometimes undermine a fragile peace. For example, while the holding of elections is the most frequent outcome of a peace agreement, and electoral processes can contribute to more legitimate political authority, they may also be a source of tension and renewed conflict if they are rushed, if quality is sacrificed to speed, and if the political environment is not conducive to a credible and accepted result. One of the greatest strategic challenges in the early post-conflict phase is to ensure that, whilst moving quickly, decisions taken in the short term do not prejudice medium and long-term peace building. Disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, DDR, in DR Congo is a component of the UN Organization Stabilization Mission in DR Congo, MONUSCO. It began its work in 2002 in the Ituri region of eastern DR Congo as a Community Disarmament and Resettlement, CDR, program. Its initial mission was to pacify the Ituri district by disarming all militias of armed groups in Ituri. Ahead of the national program for demobilization, the various groups were given the opportunity to participate in community resettlement projects. The accords signed by all the Congolese warring factions called for the establishment of transit, orientation, and regrouping centers. Armed groups were expected to stay for 5 days in these centers, during which they will undergo sensitization, orientation, and registration formalities before being allowed to choose between integration into the army and demobilization and go into civilian life. Those who chose the army were sent to training centers from where, if successful, were finally integrated into the FARDC army. Those who did not successfully go through the training process were sent to the demobilization programs. The DDR process has so far treated more than 150,000 ex-combatants belonging to various Congolese armed groups. The main challenges to peace building: funding needs, coordination challenges among national and international actors, difficulties in communication can be counted as some of the challenges of peace building. First, a funding gap may ensue when the humanitarian response to a crisis begins to draw down but fully fledged development assistance is not yet in place. It may also occur because donors are unwilling to fund critical but high-risk political and security activities. Second, national ownership requires coordination among many national actors. Complicating factors can include the roles played by traditional leaders, a politicized civil society or media, weak communications systems, and a lack of management and coordination capability in the civil service. Where there are many international actors involved in a country, it can be very difficult to agree on one common strategy for peace building, and to agree on division of roles and responsibilities. Third, aftermath of conflict, weakened public and private media may not be able to provide accurate, independent, and reliable information. Misinformation, absence of information, and changing facts are likely to be constant challenges. The international community may be asked to support direct delivery of information about peace-building activities to target populations, and should work to rebuild the capacity of national media in the process.